The air in the Thalorian forest was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine needles, a symphony of rustling leaves and chirping birds. Eira Valara, a young woman with eyes the color of moss and hair like spun moonlight, stood before a towering oak, its bark etched with ancient runes. She held a bundle of dreamreeds, their delicate stems whispering secrets in the breeze. Eira had been having these dreams since she was a child, visions of a shadowy figure reaching from a swirling vortex, a world collapsing in on itself. The dreams were always the same, yet they felt more real than anything she had ever experienced. They haunted her waking hours, the fear twisting in her gut like a hungry serpent. She lit the dreamreeds, their smoke curling upwards, a wisp of silver against the emerald canopy. The smoke swirled around her, pulling her into a swirling vortex of colors and sensations. She saw herself, younger, standing before the same oak, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. The smoke whispered, "The veil will fall, and darkness will consume all." Eira gasped, the vision shifting. She saw the land of Umbaris, its vibrant colors replaced by a desolate gray. The mountains crumbled, the lakes turned to dust, the cities reduced to smoldering ruins. The shadowy figure, now larger and more menacing, reached out from the vortex, its touch turning everything to ash. Panic clawed at her throat. This wasn't just a dream. This was a prophecy. She had to do something, but what? She stumbled back, the smoke dissipating, the vision fading. She was left alone in the forest, the silence echoing her fear. She knew she couldn't ignore this. She had to find someone who could understand, someone who could help. Eira knew of Ashenlands, the renowned astress weaver from the Silver Isles, a woman rumored to possess knowledge beyond comprehension. She was her only hope. Eira packed a small bag with necessities, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She knew the journey to the Silver Isles would be long and perilous, but she had to try. She had to stop the prophecy from coming true. She looked back at the towering oak, its ancient branches reaching towards the sky, its leaves whispering secrets in the wind. She knew the forest was her ally, its memories a guiding light in the darkness. With a deep breath, she stepped onto the path, her footsteps echoing through the trees. The journey had just begun, and Eira knew she was only the first piece in a much larger puzzle. She had to find the others, the ones who could help her fight the darkness. The fate of Umbaris rested on her shoulders, and she was determined to carry the burden. The journey to the Silver Isles was a tapestry woven with hardship and unexpected encounters. Eira, her heart heavy with the weight of the prophecy, traversed the Thalorian forests, their ancient trees whispering tales of forgotten times. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Eira stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a lone figure, cloaked in shadow, a sword glinting in the fading light. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his face obscured by the hood. "Who are you?" Eira asked, her voice trembling slightly. The figure turned, revealing a face etched with hardship, his eyes a piercing blue. He wore a leather jerkin, his boots worn and dusty. A scar ran across his cheek, a testament to battles fought and wounds endured. He held a sword, its hilt adorned with intricate carvings, its blade gleaming with an otherworldly light. "Fenrir," he said, his voice gruff, "and you?" "Eira Valara," she replied, her gaze drawn to the sword. "I'm on my way to the Silver Isles." Fenrir's eyes narrowed. "The Silver Isles? What takes you there?" Eira hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. She had learned to be cautious in a world where secrets were as dangerous as weapons. "I seek the wisdom of Ashenlands," she said finally. "She is the only one who might understand what I have seen." Fenrir's gaze softened, a flicker of understanding passing through his eyes. "Ashenlands," he repeated, a hint of respect in his voice. "She is indeed a woman of great knowledge." "Do you know her?" Eira asked, hope stirring within her. Fenrir shook his head. "I've heard tales of her, but I've never met her. I am a wanderer, a swordsman, not a scholar." "A swordsman?" Eira asked, her curiosity piqued. "What brings you to this part of the world?" Fenrir sighed, his gaze falling to the ground. "I am cursed," he said, his voice low. "A spirit has bound me to this blade, a punishment for a past I cannot escape." Eira felt a pang of sympathy for the man. She knew the pain of being haunted by the past. "Can't you break the curse?" she asked. "I have tried," Fenrir said, his voice laced with despair, "but the spirit is strong, its grip on me unyielding." "Perhaps Ashenlands can help," Eira suggested, a glimmer of hope flickering in her eyes. Fenrir looked at her, his gaze searching. "Perhaps," he said, a hint of doubt in his voice, "but I am not sure I trust her kind. They wield a power I do not understand, a power that can be both a blessing and a curse." Eira understood his hesitation. She had seen firsthand the dangers of magic, the way it could twist and corrupt even the purest of hearts, but she also knew that sometimes the only way to fight darkness was with light, even if that light came from a source she didn't fully comprehend. "I understand your fear," she said, her voice gentle, "but we need to work together. The prophecy I saw, it's not just about me, it's about all of us." Fenrir looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of suspicion and hope. "What prophecy?" he asked, his voice low. Eira hesitated, unsure whether to reveal the full extent of her vision, but she knew she had to trust him, to forge a bond with this stranger who had stumbled into her path. She told him about the dreams, the visions of a collapsing world, the shadowy figure reaching from the veil. Fenrir listened intently, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he remained silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I have seen darkness too," he said finally, his voice a low rumble, "but I have also seen the light, the flicker of hope that persists even in the darkest of times. Perhaps we can fight this darkness together." Eira felt a surge of hope. She was not alone. She had found an ally, a swordsman who had seen the darkness and chosen to fight it. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, their paths converging in the face of a shared threat. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the clearing, Eira and Fenrir set off together, their steps echoing through the forest. They were a strange pair, a young Echoweaver and a cursed swordsman, but they were united by a common purpose, to save Umbaris from the darkness that threatened to consume it. Their journey was far from over, but they were no longer alone. They had found each other, and in that shared hope they found strength. As they walked, Eira couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. She knew that the Silver Isles held many secrets, and she was eager to learn what Ashenlands knew. But she also knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger. The prophecy had warned of a looming darkness, and she had no doubt that it would test them both to their limits. But Eira was no longer afraid. She had found a companion, a swordsman who had seen the darkness and chosen to fight it. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, their paths intertwined in the face of a shared threat. The fate of Umbaris rested on their shoulders, and they were determined to carry the burden. The journey through the Iryon Wastes was a test of endurance and resolve. The sun beat down mercilessly, the air shimmering with heat. The ground was cracked and scorched, the only sound the wind whistling through the skeletal remains of ancient trees. Eira, Fenrir, and a new companion, Kaelen, a Veilcaster from the Ashenlands, pressed on, their faces grim with determination. Kaelen, a man with eyes as dark as the shadows he commanded, carried a dagger with a glimmer stone embedded in its hilt, its light flickering with an unsettling energy. He was haunted by a tragedy from his past, a burden that weighed heavily on his soul. Their journey was punctuated by encounters with corrupted Veilwalkers, spirits twisted by the dark magic of the wastes. Fenrir's blade, the luminary sword, blazed with light, repelling the spectral attackers, while Kaelen's veil-casting abilities warded off the encroaching shadows. Eira, her Animara powers enhanced by the harsh environment, used her connection to the land to heal their wounds and guide them through the treacherous terrain. One afternoon, As they approached a towering rock formation, a crimson mist rolled in from the horizon, engulfing them in a suffocating blanket. The crimson tide, a phenomenon that haunted the Silver Isles, had followed them into the wastes. The mist whispered secrets, conjuring visions of their past, their deepest fears and regrets. Eira saw herself as a child, her parents lost to a plague that swept through the Thalorian forests. Fenrir saw the moment he was cursed, the spirit binding him to the luminary sword. Kaelen saw the face of the woman he loved, her eyes filled with betrayal, the moment he lost her to the veil. The visions were overwhelming, each a wound torn open, the pain raw and unbearable. They fought against the mist, their wills battling the insidious whispers, their bodies trembling with the weight of their past. Finally, the mist receded, leaving them drained and shaken. They stood in silence, the echoes of their visions lingering in the air. "We must press on," Fenrir said, his voice hoarse. "The crimson tide is a test, a trial of our resolve. We cannot let it break us." Kaelen nodded, his face pale. "The crimson tide is a reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all," he said, his voice low. "We must face it, confront our fears, or they will consume us." Eira, her heart heavy with the weight of her own past, knew he was right. They had to move forward, to keep their eyes on the path ahead, no matter how daunting the journey. As they continued, they came across a towering structure, a fortress built from black obsidian, its walls etched with ancient runes. A figure stood before the entrance, his form shrouded in shadow, his eyes burning with an unnatural light. This was Lord Corvus Varn, a man rumored to be part mortal, part spirit, a collector of glimmer stones, and a master of manipulation. "Welcome," Corvus said, his voice a chilling whisper. "I have been expecting you." Eira felt a shiver run down her spine. There was something unsettling about this man, a power that radiated from him like a noxious gas. She felt a sense of dread, a premonition of danger. "We seek passage to the Ashenlands," Fenrir said, his voice firm, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "We have heard that you control the paths through the wastes." Corvus smiled, a chilling, predatory smile. "I do indeed," he said, his gaze sweeping over them, "but passage comes at a price." He explained that someone was harvesting glimmer stones. Their power used to trigger the starfall season prematurely, a dangerous event that could tear the veil apart, unleashing chaos upon Umbaris. "The starfall season?" Eira asked, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. "But that's centuries away." "Not anymore," Corvus said, his voice a low rumble. "Someone is manipulating the fabric of time, using the power of the glimmer stones to hasten the arrival of the starfall season." Eira felt a chill run down her spine. This was worse than she had imagined. The prophecy she had seen was not just a vision of the future. It was a warning of a looming catastrophe. "We must stop them," Fenrir said, his voice resolute. "We must find the source of this power and prevent them from unleashing chaos upon the world." Corvus nodded, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling light. "I can help you," he said, his voice a low whisper, "but there is a price to be paid, a price that will test your resolve and your very souls." Eira felt a sense of unease. She knew that Corvus was not to be trusted, but she also knew that they needed his help. They were caught in a web of intrigue, their destinies intertwined with the fate of Umbaris. "What is the price?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Corvus smiled, a chilling, predatory smile. "You will learn soon enough," he said, his voice a low rumble. "But be warned, the path ahead is fraught with danger, and the price of failure is unimaginable." Eira felt a wave of fear wash over her. She knew that they were entering a dangerous game, a game where the stakes were high and the consequences dire. But she also knew that they had no choice. They had to find the source of the power and stop the starfall season from being triggered prematurely. The fate of Umbaris rested on their shoulders, and they were determined to carry the burden. As they followed Corvus into the obsidian fortress, Eira couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. She knew that they were entering a world of shadows and secrets, a world where the lines between good and evil were blurred, and the price of failure was unimaginable. But Eira was not one to back down from a challenge. She had seen the darkness, and she was determined to fight it. She had found allies in Fenrir and Kaelen, and together they would face whatever lay ahead. The fate of Umbaris rested on their shoulders, and they were determined to carry the burden. The Ashenlands were a realm of fire and shadow, where volcanic peaks pierced the sky, spewing plumes of smoke that darkened the sun. The air crackled with raw magic, a tangible force that hummed beneath the surface of the earth. It was a place of both beauty and danger, a realm where the veil of Merkin, the boundary between the mortal world and the spirit realm, was thin and fragile. Eira, Fenrir, and Kaelen, guided by Corvus, ventured deeper into the Ashenlands, their hearts pounding with a mixture of anticipation and fear. They had learned that a cult, led by a corrupted astrus weaver named Ethel, was attempting to tear down the veil, using the power of the glimmer stones to manipulate the starfall season and unleash chaos upon the world. The journey was fraught with peril. They encountered Veilwalkers, spirits twisted by the dark magic of the Ashenlands, their forms shifting and flickering like flames in the wind. Fenrir's blade, the luminary sword, blazed with light, repelling the spectral attackers, while Kaelen, his veil-casting abilities strained by the oppressive atmosphere, used his powers to ward off the encroaching shadows. Eira, her Animara powers amplified by the raw magic of the Ashenlands, used her connection to the land to heal their wounds and guide them through the treacherous terrain. They finally reached the heart of the Ashenlands, a volcanic caldera where the veil was at its thinnest. There, in the midst of a swirling vortex of smoke and fire, stood Ethel, his form radiating with an unnatural light, his eyes burning with a dark intensity. He was surrounded by his followers, their faces twisted with fanaticism, their hands clutching glimmer stones that pulsed with a dangerous energy. Ethel raised his hand, a glimmer stone pulsing in his palm. A surge of energy erupted from the stone, a wave of raw magic that rippled through the caldera, causing the ground to tremble and the air to crackle with electricity. "We will not let you," Eira said, her voice ringing with determination. "We will fight you to the end." Eira, Fenrir, and Kaelen charged forward, their weapons blazing with light and shadow. The battle was fierce, a clash of wills and powers, a struggle between light and darkness. Fenrir's blade, the luminary sword, cut through the shadows, while Kaelen's veil-casting abilities warded off the spectral attacks. Eira, her Animara powers amplified by the raw magic of the Ashenlands, used her connection to the land to heal their wounds and guide their attacks. But Ethel was powerful, his mastery of Astra's magic unmatched. He summoned bolts of lightning, his attacks searing the air with crackling energy. He manipulated the shadows, twisting them into grotesque shapes that lunged at them with razor-sharp claws. He was a whirlwind of destruction, his power growing with each passing moment. As the battle raged, Kaelen, his veil-casting abilities strained to their limit, felt a surge of pain. His echo, the essence of his soul, was fading, his connection to the mortal world weakening. He was being pulled into the veil, his body becoming ethereal, his spirit merging with the shadows. "Kaelen," Eira cried out, her heart pounding with fear. Kaelen, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain and determination, knew that he was losing the battle. He had pushed himself too far, his powers strained beyond their limits. And no, Ethel screamed, his voice filled with rage and despair. The battle was over, but the victory was bittersweet. They had defeated Ethel, but at a terrible cost. Kaelen was gone, his spirit lost to the veil, his sacrifice a testament to his courage and selflessness. Eira, her heart heavy with grief, stood over Kaelen's fading form, her eyes filled with tears. She had lost a friend, a comrade, a man who had shown her the true meaning of courage and sacrifice. Fenrir, his face grim with sorrow, placed a hand on her shoulder. "He is at peace now," he said, his voice low. "He has found his redemption." Eira knew he was right. Kaelen had found peace, his spirit merging with the veil, his sacrifice a testament to his courage and selflessness. But the pain of his loss was still fresh, a wound that would take time to heal. As they stood in the heart of the Ashenlands, the veil shimmering and pulsating around them, Eira felt a surge of determination. They had defeated Ethel, but the threat of the starfall season was still looming. They had to find a way to stop it, to protect Umbaris from the darkness that threatened to consume it. They had lost a friend, but they had also gained a guardian. Kaelen's spirit, bound to the veil, would watch over them, protecting them from the shadows that lurked in the darkness. They would continue their journey, their hearts heavy with grief, but their spirits unbroken. They would fight for the future of Umbaris, for the light that shone in the darkness. And Eira, her heart filled with both sorrow and determination, knew that she would never forget Kaelen's sacrifice. His memory would be a guiding light, a beacon of hope in the darkness. She would carry his spirit with her, his courage and selflessness, a source of strength in the battles ahead. The journey was far from over, but Eira knew that she was not alone. She had found allies in Fenrir and Kaelen, and together they would face whatever lay ahead. The fate of Umbaris rested on their shoulders, and they were determined to carry the burden. The air crackled with anticipation as Eira, Fenrir, and Astra stood before the shattered remnants of the corrupted starfall stones. The Ashenlands, still reeling from the battle, hummed with a strange energy, a mixture of relief and unease. The veil, though weakened, remained intact, thanks to Kaelen's sacrifice, his spirit now a silent guardian of the boundary between the mortal world and the spirit realm. Astra, her face etched with exhaustion, but her eyes burning with determination, raised her hands, her astrous magic swirling around her like a storm. She had spent weeks studying the starfall stones, their power both fascinating and terrifying. She knew that they held the key to preventing the premature triggering of the starfall season, but she also knew that their destruction would come at a great cost. "This is the only way," she said, her voice firm. "We must shatter the corrupted stones, sever their connection to the celestial energies that fuel them. It will be a powerful spell, and it will drain my echo, but it is the only way to ensure that the starfall season does not come to pass." Eira, her heart heavy with the weight of the prophecy, nodded in agreement. She had seen firsthand the destructive power of the corrupted stones, the way they twisted and corrupted the very fabric of reality. She knew that Astra was right. They had to destroy them, even if it meant sacrificing a part of herself. Fenrir, his hand resting on the hilt of the luminary sword, stood beside them, his face a mask of grim determination. He had seen the darkness that the corrupted stones had unleashed, the way they had twisted and corrupted the spirits of the Ashenlands. He knew that Astra's spell was a necessary evil, a sacrifice that had to be made to protect the world from a greater evil. Astra closed her eyes, focusing her will, drawing upon the celestial energies that flowed through her. The air around her crackled with power, the ground trembling beneath her feet. Her hair, normally a cascade of silver, shimmered with a golden light, her eyes glowing with an ethereal intensity. She raised her hands, her fingers outstretched, her palm facing the shattered remnants of the starfall stones. A surge of energy erupted from her, a wave of raw magic that rippled through the Ashenlands, causing the ground to tremble and the air to crackle with electricity. The shattered remnants of the starfall stones pulsed with a blinding light, their corrupted energies reacting to Astra's spell. The air crackled with a dangerous energy, the very fabric of reality seeming to warp and distort. Eira, Fenrir, and Astra held their breath, their hearts pounding with anticipation. They knew that this was a moment of truth, a turning point in the fate of Umbaris. The outcome of this spell would determine the future of their world. Astra's spell reached its crescendo, a wave of celestial energy crashing down upon the shattered remnants of the starfall stones. The air crackled with a blinding light, the ground trembling beneath their feet. The corrupted stones, their power waning, shattered into a million pieces, their corrupted energies dissipating into the air. The air, which had been thick with a dangerous energy, cleared, the ground settling beneath their feet. The Ashenlands, which had been a realm of fire and shadow, seemed to sigh with relief, the energy of the corrupted stones fading into the earth. Eira, Fenrir, and Astra stood in silence, their hearts pounding with relief. They had done it. They had destroyed the corrupted stones, preventing the premature triggering of the starfall season, saving Umbaris from a catastrophic fate. But the victory was bittersweet. Astra, her face pale and her body trembling with exhaustion, collapsed to her knees, her echo drained by the powerful spell. She had saved the world, but at a great cost to herself. Eira rushed to her side, her heart filled with concern. "Astra, are you all right?" she asked, her voice filled with worry. Astra smiled weakly, her eyes filled with a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. "I am fine," she said, her voice raspy. "I have done what I had to do." Fenrir, his face grim with concern, knelt beside them, his hand resting on Astra's shoulder. "You have saved us all," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "We owe you a debt of gratitude." Astra nodded, her gaze falling to the shattered remnants of the starfall stones. "The threat is gone," she said, her voice weak, "but the world is still fragile. We must remain vigilant, for the darkness always lurks in the shadows." Eira, her heart heavy with the weight of the prophecy, knew that Astra was right. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The darkness always lurked in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike. They had to remain vigilant, to protect the world from the forces that threatened to consume it. As they stood in the heart of the Ashenlands, the air filled with the scent of sulphur and the echoes of their victory, Eira felt a surge of determination. They had faced the darkness, and they had emerged victorious. They had lost friends, but they had also gained strength. They had learned the true meaning of courage, sacrifice, and hope. They had saved Umbaris, but the journey was far from over. The world was still fragile, and the darkness always lurked in the shadows. They had to remain vigilant, to protect the world from the forces that threatened to consume it. Eira, Fenrir, and Astra, their spirits unbroken, their hearts filled with hope, turned towards the horizon, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had saved Umbaris, and they would continue to fight for its future, for the light that shone in the darkness. The world was still fragile, but they would protect it. They would stand as guardians of Umbaris, their spirits bound by a shared purpose, their hearts filled with hope. The darkness might lurk in the shadows, but they would be there to fight it, to protect the light that shone in the darkness. They would be the guardians of Umbaris, their spirits forever bound by their shared journey, their hearts filled with hope.